Today, we are going to be looking at adding fractions that have different denominators. Now, this is a tricky concept to grasp, so I'm going to make it easier for you by giving you 4 steps for your success. Step number 1, find the common denominator. Step number 2, find your equivalent fraction. Step number 3, add your fractions together. And step number 4, simplify your fractions. I'm going to show you how to do all 4 of these steps so that you can learn how to add fractions together. The question that we're going to look at today is 3/8 plus 2/12. Now, I've written a slight abbreviations to each of the steps so that you can remember them. Step number 1 is to find the common denominator. Now remember, our denominator is the bottom number inside our fraction. So we need to find the common denominator between 8 and 12. Now, the way that we're going to do this is we're going to find out the lowest common multiple between both of these numbers. So we're going to write down all the multiples of 8. So we've got 8, 16, 24, and 32. Next, we're going to write down the multiples of 12, which are 12, 24, 36, and 48. Now, if we look at our list of multiples, we've got multiples of 8 over here and our multiples of 12. If we look at both of our lists, we can see that the lowest common multiple is 24. Which means our denominators are now going to be 24. So we're going to write 24 and 24. That's step number 1. Done. Now we need to move on to step number 2, which is to find equivalent fractions. So we need to find our equivalent fractions. Now, to get from 8 to 24, we multiplied by 3. We times by 3, which means now we need to multiply our numerator by 3 also. So 3 times 3 equals 9. Therefore, 3 over 8 is equivalent to 9 over 24. Now let's find the equivalent fraction for 2 over 12. Now to get 24, I need to multiply by 2, which means I must multiply 2 by 2, which equals 4. This means that 2 over 12 is equivalent to 4 over 24. That's step number 2 complete. Now we need to move on to step number 3. Step number 3 is to add our fractions together. So we need to add 9 over 24 plus 4 over 24. Because we've got the same denominator, it stays the same. Now we need to add 9 plus 4, which equals 13. So step number 3 is complete. Now we need to look at step number 4. We need to find out if there is a simplified fraction for 13 and 24. The only number that can go into both 13 and 24 is 1, therefore there is no simplified fraction for this, which means the answer to 3 over 8 plus 2 over 12 is 13 over 24. Next, we're going to look at 2 over 7 plus 1 over 3. And again, we're going to follow our steps to success to make sure that we get this right. So the first thing that we've got to do is find our common denominator. So I'm going to write out all my multiples of 7 and all my multiples of 3 until I find a match. 7, 14, 21, 28, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Now, because 21 is a multiple of 7 and 3, I now know my lowest common multiple, which means I now know my denominator. So I know my common denominator. So I'm going to write down my common denominator, 21 plus 21. Now I need to do step 2, which is to find out my equivalent fractions. Now, to get the denominator of 21, I have to multiply 7 by 3, which means I now need to multiply my numerator by 3 as well. 2 times 3 equals 6. Now, to get to 21, I need to multiply 3 by 7, which means I also need to multiply my numerator by 7. 1 times 7 is 7. Step number 2, done. Now I need to look at step number 3. Step number 3 is to add my fractions together. Because both of my denominators are now the same, I just need to write my denominator down. But I must still add my numerator. 7 plus 6 is 13. So now I know that when my fractions are added together, the answer is 13 over 21. Now I need to find out if there is a simpler form of this fraction. Fortunately, there is no simplest form, therefore this is the answer to my question. 2 over 7 plus 1 over 3 equals 13 over 21. My top teacher tip is to follow these 4 steps in order to find out how to add fractions that have a different denominator. Step number 1, find the common denominator. Step number 2, find your equivalent fractions. Step number 3, add your fractions together. And step number 4, simplify your fractions. I will soon post a video on simplifying fractions so you know how to do that too. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to add fractions that have different denominators. Don't forget that you can access a free worksheet created by me inside the description box. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.